Imagine you're a farmer living high in the mountains. Your day normally starts with feeding animals, chopping wood, and working in the fields. Now imagine waking up one morning and hearing terrible news. An army of 9,000 knights is marching toward your home. Not just soldiers but armored knights. The most feared fighters in medieval Europe. They ride huge war horses. They wear heavy steel armor. And they've trained for battle their entire lives. And you? You're just a farmer. You don't have shiny armor. You don't have a war horse. Most of your neighbors are farmers, woodcutters, and shepherds. It sounds like the end of the story before the battle even begins. But something incredible happened in the year 1315. Around 1,500 Swiss farmers defeated an army of 9,000 knights in a famous battle called the Battle of Morgarten. Yes, farmers beat knights. And they did it using something far more powerful than armor or horses. They used smart planning, teamwork, and the mountains themselves. By the end of this story, you'll see exactly how these farmers turned a simple mountain path into a deadly trap that shocked all of Europe. First, let's understand why knights were so powerful back then. In medieval times, knights were like the superheroes of the battlefield. They trained from childhood to fight with swords, lances, and shields. Many spent years learning how to ride and battle on horseback. Their armor was extremely strong. A full suit of armor could weigh over 20 kilograms, covering most of their body in steel. This armor protected them from many weapons used by ordinary soldiers. But the real power of knights came from their horses. When a group of knights charged across a battlefield, their horses ran fast and smashed into enemy lines. Imagine dozens of heavy horses racing toward you while riders swing swords and spears. Most armies simply couldn't stop that kind of attack. So when the powerful Habsburg rulers of Austria wanted to take control of some mountain valleys in Switzerland, they were very confident. To them, defeating a group of rebellious farmers sounded easy. But those farmers were not ordinary people. The farmers lived in the Alps, the huge mountain range in Switzerland. Life there was extremely hard. Winters were cold and long. Farming was difficult. People had to work together just to survive. Because of this, the mountain communities became very strong and independent. The villages of Ui, Schwyz, and Unterwalden believed they should control their own land. But the Austrian rulers wanted power over the region. They wanted to collect taxes and control the important trade routes through the mountains. The farmers didn't like that at all. So the three valleys made a promise to protect each other. They formed an alliance, which later became the Swiss Confederation. When the Austrian rulers heard about this rebellion, they decided to end it quickly. So they gathered a large army led by Duke Leopold of Austria. His army had about 9,000 soldiers, including many powerful knights. The plan seemed simple. The army would march through a mountain route, enter the valley, and crush the farmers before they could resist. But the Duke and his knights made a huge mistake. They didn't know the mountains. And the farmers knew every hill, forest, and hidden path. The Swiss farmers understood something very important. Fighting knights in an open field would be a terrible idea. In open land, knights could charge with their horses and easily defeat lightly armed farmers. So the farmers searched for a place where horses would struggle to move. They found the perfect spot near Lake Egerie, close to a narrow path called Morgarten Pass. Imagine a small trail between a steep mountain on one side and a lake on the other. The path was so narrow that soldiers had to walk in a long line. Only a few people could walk side by side. That meant the huge Austrian army would stretch out like a long snake along the trail. If something went wrong at the front of the line, the soldiers behind wouldn't even know what was happening. The farmers saw this and realized something important. The path itself could become a trap. So they climbed into the forests and hills above the road. Then they waited. On the morning of November 15, 1315, the Austrian army began marching along the narrow path. The soldiers probably felt confident. After all, they had thousands of men and many powerful knights. But high above them, the farmers were ready. They had prepared something simple but terrifying: large rocks and logs. Suddenly, the farmers pushed huge stones and wooden logs down the mountainside. The rocks crashed onto the soldiers below. Horses panicked. Men were knocked over. The narrow path made it impossible for the army to spread out or escape quickly. Chaos erupted instantly. But the rocks were only the beginning. As soon as the soldiers were confused and trapped, the Swiss farmers rushed down the hillside. They carried weapons called halberds. A halberd is a long wooden pole with a sharp metal blade on the end. It looks like a mix between a spear, an axe, and a hook. This weapon was perfect for fighting knights. The long pole helped farmers reach knights sitting high on their horses. The axe blade could strike armor, and the hook could grab a knight and pull him off his horse. Because the path was so narrow, the knights couldn't move properly. Their horses couldn't charge. Instead, they were stuck in a crowded line with soldiers bumping into each other. Imagine wearing heavy armor, trying to move on a muddy trail while rocks are falling and enemies are attacking from the hills. That's exactly what happened to the knights. The farmers attacked from above and from the sides. They used the mountain to their advantage. Soon the front of the Austrian army collapsed. Soldiers in the back didn't know what was happening. They only heard shouting, clashing metal, and frightened horses. Some soldiers tried to turn around and escape. But the narrow path made it nearly impossible. Others were pushed into Lake Egerie, where their heavy armor dragged them underwater. Many knights were knocked from their horses and surrounded. What was supposed to be an easy victory turned into a disaster. The powerful Austrian army began to break apart. Within a short time, the knights were defeated. Thousands of soldiers were killed or fled the battlefield. And the winners were not professional soldiers. They were farmers. The victory shocked people across Europe. How could farmers defeat knights? But when you look closely, the farmers had three huge advantages. First, they chose the perfect location. The mountains removed the knights' greatest strength, their cavalry charge. Second, they used surprise. The falling rocks and sudden attack created confusion before the army could organize. Third, they used the right weapons. The halberd was designed to fight armored riders. Instead of trying to beat knights at their own game, the farmers changed the rules of the battle. And it worked. The victory at Morgarten was very important for the Swiss people. It proved that their alliance could defend itself. More regions joined the alliance over time. Slowly, the Swiss Confederation grew stronger and eventually became the country we know today as Switzerland. Swiss soldiers later became famous across Europe for their disciplined fighting style. But it all started with one surprising victory in a narrow mountain pass. The Battle of Morgarten reminds us of something important. Sometimes the strongest army doesn't win. Sometimes the winners are the people who know their land, work together, and think smarter than their enemy. And in this case, a group of farmers used their mountains, their courage, and their teamwork to defeat one of the most powerful armies of their time. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more amazing battles from history, make sure to like the video and subscribe. And if you think this battle was surprising, wait until you hear about the next time a small group changed history forever.